Cheers, everyone. Dave Brown here with the New Populist. Thank you again for joining me. So it is 2023, a little over 20 years since the United States invaded Iraq. And it got me thinking, looking back over these years, looking back at all the negative stuff that we have dealt with as a society. And what occurred to me, and perhaps this is incredibly obvious, is that almost every major event that was harmful for us um, wasn't an accident, didn't just happen. It was caused by the United States government due to the people in power lying and manipulating. And that all these negative things that we have experienced never had to happen. And I want to prove that to you. So I want to go back to 2001 and just walk through the years. And at every major event that was harmful for the United States and the world, I want to stop, examine it, and show to you that it wasn't an accident, somebody caused it, and it never needed to happen. So let's go back to 2001, about a week and a half after 9/11. We have a story, a clip from retired General Wesley Clark, where he talks about meeting another general at the Pentagon and finding out that we, in 2001, were going to invade Iraq. Check out this clip.
Right after 9/11, about 10 days after 9/11, I went through the Pentagon and I saw Secretary Rumsfeld and Deputy Secretary Wolfowitz. I went downstairs just to say hello to some of the people on the Joint Staff who used to work for me, and one of the generals called me in. He said, "Sir, you got to come in. You got to come in and talk to me a second." I said, "Well, you're too busy." He said, "No." He says, "We've made the decision. We're going to war with Iraq." This was on or about the 20th of September. I said, "We're going to war with Iraq. Why?" He said, "I don't know."
I don't know. So we made the decision back in 2001, and honestly, probably sooner, to invade Iraq. And of course, that was all based off of WMDs that never actually existed. And Colin Powell, he did an interview later in life with Larry King where he said, "I went to the CIA and I said, is this intelligence good? And they gave me assurances, but they were wrong. It wasn't good, and I was made to look like a fool. So don't blame me completely. It wasn't all my fault. It was also the fault of the CIA who misled me." So we have the Iraq War in 2003 that caused us countless lives, and uh, obviously the money involved in it, hundreds of billions, perhaps trillions of dollars. A war that never needed to happen, that went on for several years. Now let's go to 2010 because um, not every major event was bad. Some were good, ostensibly. And what am I talking about? 2010, we finally kill Osama bin Laden. Perhaps you remember that famous picture where you see Obama, Hillary Clinton, um, looking at the screen as U.S. Navy SEALs went into the compound in Pakistan to kill Osama bin Laden. And that was supposed to be a major win for the United States. But just one problem. Years later, there was a book and a story by investigative journalist Seymour Hersh, who says we didn't find Osama bin Laden due to our great intel work. It happened because a disgruntled Pakistani general walked over to the U.S. and said, "Hey, the guy's right over there. Kill him. Give me the money." And of course, the intel community said, no, you're wrong. That didn't happen. We did great work. The CIA analysts were doing all this work. It was a fantastic job. And that's how we found him and killed him. But let me ask you, I want you to put on your thinking caps here. Which scenario is more likely? The first scenario, due to our intrepid work, using a fake, or not a fake doctor, but having a doctor go around and collect DNA samples, we found out that bin Laden was in this compound in Pakistan. And then we sent in the Navy SEALs with helicopters under the Pakistani radars, landed, raided them, raided the compound, killed bin Laden, and then left without being detected. Or a disgruntled member of Pakistani intelligence said, he's over there. And so Pakistan, once they knew that we knew where he was at, said, okay, well, this is embarrassing. We don't want to admit to the world that we knew he was there the entire time. So you guys do your raid, and we'll pretend like we didn't see you. And so that's what Seymour Hersh says happened. And you have to think, was bin Laden, the man or the most wanted man in the world, really able to escape all of the intelligence services for over 9 years? I'm going Seymour Hersh. I think Pakistan always knew where he was at, and who knows? Maybe there were members of the U.S. intelligence that also knew where he was. But having him out there as a boogeyman was good for business, good for the military-industrial complex. So I don't buy the official narrative. Sorry to be a Debbie Downer. And then in 2011, we have the Syrian war that the United States supported because we wanted to overthrow Bashar al-Assad. So for over 10 years, and it's still ongoing, we've had this Syrian civil war that's killed hundreds of thousands of people. We funded the rebels there. There were people going to Turkey trying to escape. It's been a complete disaster. And finally, in 2017, we stopped our program of arming these rebels, and now we officially are no longer openly trying to overthrow Assad. But due to U.S. support, that war has, destroyed the Middle East and destroyed Syria, and killed, again, hundreds of thousands of people. Never really needed to happen. Next, we have WikiLeaks 2016. In 2016, it is alleged that Russia hacked the DNC, destroyed our democracy, got Trump elected, and over the last 7 years, everything has been about Russia. Russia is the most evil country on earth, and Putin is essentially a modern-day Hitler. But the entire thing, or where this started at, was WikiLeaks and the hack of the DNC. Now, what is funny is that there was testimony that was hidden for a long time, where the one of the owners of CrowdStrike, actually, I'm not sure if it was the owner or just one of the managing partners, but he was testifying under oath about the CrowdStrike investigation of the DNC servers, because it was CrowdStrike who made the determination that it was hacked, the servers, by Russia, because the FBI never actually looked at the servers themselves, which makes no sense. If you're going to blame Russia and call this whole geopolitical disaster, maybe the FBI should make the determination themselves based off their own investigation by looking at the actual evidence. But no, it was a third party, CrowdStrike, that was working for the DNC that looked up the computer servers. And actually, they didn't actually look at the servers. They looked at a copy of the servers and made the determination it was Russia that hacked the DNC. But the testimony that was later unsealed, this is what was said. Being questioned, one of the congressmen said, "What about the emails that everyone is so, knowledgeable of? Were there also indicators that they were prepared, but not evidence that they were actually exfiltrated?" Mr. Henry, the guy from CrowdStrike, there's not evidence that they were actually exfiltrated. There's circumstantial evidence. Okay, but no evidence that they were actually exfiltrated. Hmm. Next part of the testimony. Mr. Henry, there is circumstantial evidence that the data was exfiltrated off the network. The Congressman Stewart. And circumstantial is less sure than the other evidence you've indicated. Circumstantial evidence is less sure than definitive. Mr. Henry, we did not have a network sensor in place that saw data leave. We said that the data left based on the circumstantial evidence. That was a conclusion that we made. And then he says later, so I said that we did not have direct evidence. And finally, this part of the testimony, any evidence that any entity other than Russia had access to the DNC servers? We have no evidence of that. So everything about the hack of the DNC, according to CrowdStrike, was circumstantial evidence. So here's my question. What if Russia didn't hack the DNC? That would mean the entire hysteria over Russia destroying our democracy wouldn't be true. Now, it's interesting to note that Julian Assange himself said that Russia was not the source of the emails that he got. And of course, right now, he's been locked up for the past several years, really a victim of our government. So, the hack of the DNC, was it Russia? Perhaps not. And the connections between the FBI, CrowdStrike, and the DNC are very, very suspicious. Next, we have the Steele dossier, the PP tapes, the compromise on Donald Trump that the Kremlin had of him with hookers in a hotel in Moscow. We find out later, years later, that the FBI always knew that this Steele dossier was pretty much garbage. It was funded by the DNC, and it was opposition research by a guy, Steele, who hated Donald Trump. But that dossier was still used to illegally get FISA warrants to spy on the Trump campaign. Another piece of information here that really captured our country for months was pure nonsense. And the FBI knew it, and they used it anyway. And just think of the damage that did. Then we have the Russian bounties. We were told that the Russians put bounties on American soldiers in Afghanistan, and that was a huge scandal. And of course, as usual, months later, it comes out here that the intelligence that the CIA had was low to moderate confidence. So essentially, another garbage story about Russia being evil. So Russia hacked the DNC, Russia had compromise on Trump, Russia colluded with Trump, Russia was trying to get U.S. soldiers killed in Afghanistan with bounties. All of that, garbage. So think about what our country would look like right now if we didn't have the last 7 years of Russian hysteria. Stirred up by the intel community and by the DNC to create this image of Russia that is so terrible that, it would lead us to where we're at right now, a proxy war in Ukraine. We should have seen it coming by all the things they were saying about Russia, that they were planning something. And now we know what it is, a proxy war in Ukraine that they thought might take Russia down, destroy their economy, and cause a collapse of the Putin regime. And now we have the pandemic. All of our lives were severely affected by the pandemic. We all got sick. Some of us got vaccines. We were locked down. People lost their jobs. Really just changed the entire world for the worst. Well, what do we know now? Was this virus something that just popped up in a wet market in China? Well, the evidence looks now that it came from a lab in China that was funded by money given to an organization by who? By the NIH and Dr. Fauci. So, because we couldn't do gain of function research in the United States due to a law, we sent it over to China for the Chinese to do. And then the Chinese did it in a laboratory where there were safety concerns. The virus gets out because a few of the workers got sick. And here we are, 4 years later almost, the entire world turned on its head, millions dead, and hundreds of millions of people forced to take a vaccine just to keep their jobs. And to think, all of this may have been caused by Fauci, NIH, and the US government because they funded research in China to get around the laws that prevented them from doing this dangerous research here in the United States. Great job, government. So these past 20 years, pandemic, war in Ukraine, Russia collusion, war in Syria, the war in Iraq, all of that never needed to happen. And I wonder what this country, this world would look like right now if none of those things did happen. Imagine that. All that money spent in Iraq, all that money spent in Ukraine, all the money we lost during the lockdowns, what if that money had been used to help Americans, to build our infrastructure, to make sure that people will have their Social Security, and make sure people have access to medical care? And it just blows my mind when I think about that. We could be in such a better situation if only we had honest people running our government. So our biggest enemy is not Xi in China. It's not Vladimir Putin. It's not climate change. Our biggest enemy is our U.S. federal government. If our lives suck, it will be because of them, not anything else. And so you want to make your life better, that's where we have to start, by putting better people in office to stop these wars, stop this dangerous research that causes pandemics, stop these geopolitical games that destroy countries all over the place. I forgot about Libya and how we collapsed Libya. We need to start there by cleaning out the government and getting people who will not do this stupid crap. And just maybe we will have a planet worth living on where we can prosper and be happy and not worry about disease and war. So, sobering thought to think all of our struggles, all of our suffering never needed to happen. Well, that's it for now. If you are new to my channel, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.